Hey, it's Bob. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to give a reaction to Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3, which, if you haven't seen it, like literally huge spoilers for the entire freaking series, because this episode is literally out of control. It's really funny because it's not even the last episode of this series, and it was already like the best episode of TV I've ever seen so far. I kind of was not looking forward to the kind of whole showdown in a way, because I don't really like the battle scenes that much, because again, like, action is fine and stuff, but really this show is really about the relationships between the characters, and that's sort of what advances the plot. You know, at the end of whatever battle, you know, somebody won and somebody lost, but it doesn't necessarily move the story forward in the same way that scenes between characters do. So I was kind of like, okay, let's just get like the fighting and the killing and the death over with. Let's see who survives. Like, half of them are going to die probably. The Night King is going to turn out to be something, and there's going to be zombies, and one Jon Snow's going to turn into a zombie. Like, we've seen a lot of these kind of theories and all that stuff. And then, so the episode literally still get like nervous. I was very nervous watching the episode. The tension that they built in the beginning of that episode was out of this world. It was crazy. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. Like, everybody kind of walking around, getting into their places and all that stuff. And then, and then like everybody's in their place, and then freaking Melisandre comes in on her horse. And I'm like, oh my, like what's about to go down is crazy. And she freaking lights up the Dothraki swords, and I'm like, OMG. And she like gallops in like ever so slowly and comes in. And then again, the tension was crazy. And then when they still don't even show the White Walkers or anything yet, and then the Dothraki run, and you see like their fires like distinguishing, and then like, there's none left, and Ser Jorah's like falls back with like two other people. It's like, and the horse that was like running for its life, looking like it was actually gonna die. The horse was like an audience avatar. It's like the horse had the same like heart condition that like everybody watching the show had. It was just so intense. It was intense, but it was like so masterful the way that they built that episode up. Like, I mean, I was afraid, like, if somebody had a heart condition, after I was doing the dishes because I was like not well, and I was like, I can't like sit down, I can't go to bed. So I start like doing the dishes. I put on If I Die Young by the Van Perry. Like, I was like in an existential like mode, but also like so hyped up. And I heard like an ambulance, and I was like, did somebody just die watching Game of Thrones? Like, I'm not even joking. That actually came to mind because my heart was racing so much in anticipation. So then the battle starts happening, and then it kind of goes into like what we're, I would say, more used to already seeing, like with the Battle of the Bastards and a lot of other battles where it's like, you know, death, 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 and a few people die, but not a lot of the main characters died, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I was like, and the first thing I was thinking was like, are they gonna nip this in the bud in one episode? Like, in my head, I was giving them 2 episodes. Like, I was like, you have 2 episodes to wrap this up, because I don't want to be watching a battle for when we only have 6 episodes. I don't want to have a battle for more than 2 episodes, because it's like Cersei's not even involved here. So it's like, we're not even like dealing with the main issue. And of course, like there were theories that obviously the White Walkers could have gone down to Cersei and all that stuff. So, you know, a lot of stuff could have happened, but I just really liked what they did and the way that they did it. It's funny because in the beginning of this series, I was like, oh my God, Melisandre, like, just, you know, she still burnt a girl. Like, just because she brought Jon Snow back does not give her a redemption arc. But then now it's like, okay, you've earned it, girl. Like, you got it. You got your redemption. I mean, I don't feel like you can redeem yourself any more than providing the assist to not only the fire and all that stuff, but then literally being there, bringing back the guy that helped Arya with the Hound, freaking slay, like Arya slayed. Like, there's she became a legendary hero in her own right. Like I remember like in season 2 when she was talking to Tywin about like Visenya or whatever, like the Targaryen sister wives and all that stuff of legend. It's like she became that in her own right. And it's like Arya's arc was like a freaking slingshot. It's like the whole series. She's like by herself or like with the hound, like far away from everything, going blind, like getting stabbed by crazy people. And like only to like come back and literally save the world. Like she saved the freaking world. And I love that it's like she crept up on Jon Snow and Jon Snow was like, oh, how did you creep up on me? Because obviously Jon Snow's a warrior, so he should have all of his senses heightened and be waiting for that. And Arya was like, like little do you know. So the Lord of Light came through like no other. Melisandre came through like no other. Dany was humbled, which I think is going to be really important for the next 3 episodes because she was literally on her high horse, figuratively on her high horse, literally on her dragon for most of these seasons. And then when she gets thrown off her dragon and she's, as Wendy Williams says, soft and pink, and she doesn't have battle experience, she doesn't have muscles, which one of my contentions with the Daenerys riding the dragons is like, how much upper body strength does this girl have to hold on to that dragon when Jon Snow was like wobbling around? I was like, that was kind of questionable. But again, I like that she was humbled. I'm wondering, I feel like she only has 1 dragon left. I'm not sure if that's confirmed, but pretty sure she just has 1 dragon left. Ser Jorah had a beautiful death. I thought that was like a beautiful way to go. And he protected her literally till the end. It was very like goosebumps and like, you know, sweet. Lady Mormont killing the freaking giant was out of this world. Like I literally screamed at the top of my lungs. My neighbors probably think I'm crazy if they weren't watching, but it was like, that was amazing. Like from a literary perspective, it was kind of cheesy, like David and Goliath. It's like a trope that like we've seen a million times, but like somehow just seeing her, as she's being crushed to death, the smallest one. First of all, when she's screaming and like telling them to like, you know, open the gates, close the gates, stand back, all that stuff. Like she's such a badass. I loved that. And so she had a freaking glorious, amazing death. I'm glad she didn't really like do much as a zombie because that would have been like super annoying. Like, oh God, now she's a zombie and we have to hate her now. Sansa and Tyrion were in the bullpen the whole time. Like you can tell that like they were dying to do something. And it's like, they are like the most brilliant minds in the realm. So I'm glad obviously they survived because now it's going to be their time to shine. And they have so much like pent up energy and rage that it's like, OMG, like what's going to happen in the next few episodes. I'm really hoping the Sansa Tyrion ticket is still viable to rule because I think they're really amazing rulers. And I really like that Jon Snow kind of provided more of an assist in this episode. And it was, I think, amazing in terms of protecting Bran that it was Jon on his dragon, Theon getting his redemption arc, and then Arya coming in for the kill at the end. Like, it was amazing that, like, you know, the Starks or like the Stark adjacents, like, really held down the fort, literally. And I think that that was really amazing, keeping it in the family and kind of like going back to the beginning and the origins of this show with the Starks really getting slaughtered so much. To have them kind of come through and the way that they came through was freaking amazing. And I like that Bran kind of got out of his like emo-ness for Theon and kind of gave him the thumbs up. Like, it's like, you're about to die, but I want you to know you're a good guy. Like, you're all right. You're not too bad. And it's like, you know, Theon was terrible. Like, I have watched the other seasons recently, and it's like, he was kind of like an awful person. So, I mean, but he certainly made up for it, I feel, between saving Sansa and protecting Bran and all that stuff, and kind of like dealing with his like Ironborn and Stark identity crisis. I feel like that was very well nipped in the bud. What I loved about this episode, I think more than anything, is that it was just masterful, like epic television. They pulled out all the stops, all of the actors, everybody who worked on this episode of television is a freaking like legend. Like, it was better than any movie. It was better than any TV show. it was just so well done. And I think that talking to like my family and friends that have seen it, I think that's the general consensus. Like it's like it was so well done, this episode. It just gave you like literally all the feels. And I wasn't expecting that from a battle. I was expecting to be a little bit more like kind of like when you're watching an action movie. But even though I think it was still an action movie, it was still very beautiful in a lot of ways. And I think it really went into the characters during the action. And that's what I was happy about. Because again, at the end of the day, it's very character driven. I'm glad that everybody, including myself, was wrong about a lot of the theories with the White Walkers and all that stuff. I'm actually really glad that like they're dead and that's over with, because I think that the reason that we watch is for the living, obviously, but it could have turned out to be a lot more magical, and that wouldn't have been as fun. I think in the beginning of the series, magic and that sort of thing was kind of something of more of myth and lore. And then slowly, as the series has progressed, it became more reality and part of the storyline. But I feel, and I hope that this is the case, I feel like maybe a lot of the magic, a lot of what the dragons, a lot of the Night King and the winter and all that stuff, I'm really hoping that that is going to kind of come to a conclusion, and maybe they're going to go back to just being like regular people. Like there's no more children of the forest. There may be obviously the three-eyed raven, like maybe Bran will kind of go into a tree and kind of hang out. But I hope, I kind of have a desire for it to end up people leading people, and like that being kind of what it is in a way. So I'm really looking forward to the next half of this season. Honestly, I mean, I'm not going to say it could have ended here because this episode was so amazing, but like this could have been the last episode and they would have left us like gooped, gagged, like gobsmacked. Like we would have still be dead, which is kind of ironic that like they literally killed us by killing Death. But this was amazing. Like Arya, between losing her virginity in the episode before and then freaking coming through and slaying the Night King, the way that she did it, come flying in the air. And I love that they give you that moment of suspense where he grabs her by the neck. I think it was by the neck. I haven't been able to watch it again because I'm not well after watching it. But I don't even know that I ever want to watch the episode again, because it was just one of those things that I wanted to stay in the memory of that night. Because again, it's like I couldn't go to sleep for a long time. Like I was like, it was like a physiological experience. Like it was like a ride at Disney. Not even at Disney. I mean, that's not even doing it justice. I would say it's better than it's better than Mad Men, than Lost. Like I kind of like those, Mad Men and Lost are kind of like, for me, the top shows in my lifetime that I've kind of followed as they've aired and just been obsessed with and like really looked forward to the endings. And this already, in episode 3, not even episode 6, has already topped the endings of those series, which for me, it's just like, it's very few times that I don't really have like negative things to say. Like I kind of always have positive and negative critiques of anything that I watch or read or anything like that. But this is the first time that I'm like, I literally wouldn't change anything, like what I was wrong about or what I kind of wasn't sure about. Like, I don't even care because it's so not about that. Like, it was just so well done. And I love that with Arya's arc, I love that 2 men that were on her kill list ended up helping her save the world. I think that in terms of writing is beautiful, the way that played out. And one of the concerns with the whole Lord of Light thing is that the Lord of Light brought Jon Snow back. And then Melisandre in this episode said that once the guy that helped Arya, he's super important, I probably should remember his name, but I don't. The guy that came back a million times, obviously to just end up saving Arya so that she could save the world. So he died at the end because his purpose was fulfilled for the Lord of Light. So now Jon Snow, I'm pretty sure, and I feel like I had already predicted this, but I'm pretty sure Jon Snow is going to have to die because, again, he's only here because of the Lord of the Light brought him back. So whatever his purpose is, he's going to fulfill it. And then so I think that may be the, like, OMG, like another kind of crazy moment that we're going to have later on in this series. Just a hunch, but just based on what Melisandre said, that kind of stuck with me. Oh, and one of the things that I kind of feel like Sir Davos, after being skeptical and skeptical and skeptical, I think that now he's going to become the St. Peter of like the Church of the Lord of Light. I think that that may be kind of like what his character is based on, where he kind of denied it. And then he has seen really what the Lord of Light did, and like seeing Melisandre like go in toward the dawn and then become like a shriveled up little old whatever she was. Like, I feel like he's the one that bore witness to a lot of what the Lord of Light was able to do, including like Jon Snow's resurrection and all that stuff. So I think that that's going to be probably something that may play out, or maybe just in my head, that's going to be like the future where he's going to be like the foundation of the Church of the Lord of Light, if that becomes a thing. And then kind of like the whole thing with Jon Snow, Daenerys, and Sansa and Tyrion, I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic moving forward, because now we're actually going into the political. I thought when I watched the first 2 episodes, I'm like, I don't know who's like, what's going to happen with the White Walkers and all that. So I'm like, I didn't even want to kind of keep on talking about all of like the character development and the political stuff. But now it's like game on. Like, thank God we have 3 episodes of The Living. My concerns with the Winterfell camp is that most of their armies have dwindled, and then Cersei literally has a fresh army she just bought, the Golden Company. She didn't get her elephants. She's very mad she didn't get her elephants, but she still has a lot more. And then Dany's dragons, obviously we've seen that they are still vulnerable. Like, I don't feel like she could just go in and, you know, torch everything like she did in the battle with Jaime and Bronn. I mean, they still have that weapon. The Golden Company, who knows what kind of weapons. Maybe Cersei like put in an order for like huge javelin spears to kill them. Kill the dragons. So, and she told Jaime, she's like, how many dragons did you see? Like, there's only 2. And then Jaime's like, oh, she's probably hiding one. And Cersei's like, no, one of them's dead. I'm going to kill the other ones because I'm Cersei. So I think that's going to be really interesting. The Bronn thing with the crossbow, what's going to happen there? I don't know if Bronn would actually turn on Jaime and Tyrion. Maybe he's going to go like tell on Cersei, and then they're going to kill her for that. Maybe that's kind of what's going to happen. Maybe he'll give them the crossbow. Maybe he will actually go through with it, but I'm not sure, because I think he's smart enough to kind of see that Cersei may not end up victorious, or maybe he does because he sees the Golden Company, and maybe he's going to go and find Winterfell in shambles. One of the things with Winterfell that I'm like, who's going to clean all that up? Like, OMG. Like, did enough people survive to even like remove the bodies? Like, there's so much. What are they going to do with the bodies? Like, that's going to stink. There's so much about Winterfell that my OCD brain is just like, what's going to happen there? Like, it's destroyed, fine, but like, you can put brick and mortar up and kind of make everything better, but it's like the amount of bodies and the amount of dead bodies and the amount of death that is left over there is freaking crazy. Like, that should be like a show in and of itself, like kind of like extras, where it's like a little like offshoot of Game of Thrones, where it's like 2 years to clean up Winterfell, and they're like, oh my God, I can't. I feel like also Arya being the heir apparent of Jon Snow and now becoming the victorious like legendary hero of this battle, and Jon Snow kind of being stuck where the dragon was like breathing fire on him and he couldn't get to Bran. I wonder if that's going to play in his head. First of all, we have the Jon Snow that he just found out that he's king of the world. His sisters are literally the 2 biggest badasses like in the realm. And then his girlfriend / aunt is like kind of like a hothead, is kind of like really pissed, just lost a dragon, just found out that she's actually very vulnerable and hasn't made the best political decisions, as we've seen with Samwell Tarly. So I think there's still a lot to play out, not only like between Cersei and everybody else, but also between like in this group. But I really liked that Jon Snow was not the hero, and they kind of, now it's actually, I feel like it's going to be really all the women that are going to decide, very much kind of like a Pride of Lions, where it's like the women do all the work and the men are basically security. I think that that's kind of what this is going to end up being, where it's going to be actually Cersei, Sansa, and Daenerys really battling it out. And maybe Arya is going to be like Bran's like sworn protector, or maybe she's actually going to go slay in this battle. I don't know, but I'm really freaking looking forward to the next half of this season. It's literally the best show I've ever seen in my entire life. Anybody that's writing, I haven't read anything or listened to podcasts yet because I wanted to do this first, but I'm like, I feel like people are already saying it's like, oh, this is what's wrong with Game of Thrones or this and that, and having these like dissenting opinions. And it's like obviously everybody should have dissenting opinions. That's like kind of like the whole thing about having an opinion. It's that it's not all of us have the same one. But I also think it's like, show me a better piece of television that you've ever seen in your entire life. Television. Because like if you compare it to a movie, I'm sure you can find an epic movie and all that stuff, and we can go back in time. And there's amazing epic movie dramas or like trilogies and all that stuff. But like this piece of television was freaking amazing. It's the best thing I've ever seen. Like I've never wanted to like shake somebody's hand more. Like I'm like, you got me. Like you slayed me. I'm dead. Arya came and killed me after watching this episode. I physically couldn't breathe. I needed an ambulance. Like I can't. And I didn't even like I know kind of obviously what needs to play out in the next few episodes, but I'm like, how do you even make an episode after this? Like what I'm worried about is like, is any other episode going to be as good as this? I feel like the answer hopefully is yes, but I'm also very much like, I mean, I don't know, how do you top this? Like, how do you top this? Like this was like an experience. That's what it was. This was an experience. This was an epic television experience. And that's why I think it was so important to mark kind of like the way that I felt, because I was just like, this is never going to happen again, except for like maybe the finale, but whatever.